Alright, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. Today, we are going to go over several things. We're going to really go over what happened to Alexander Hamilton's bank after now at this point, he's dead. He was shot and killed by Aaron Burr, the vice president of Thomas Jefferson. And then, the War of 1812 happened. So you're going to see what happens in that sense. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the warm-up picture. Okay, so here's your picture. The first question asks you, what's keeping the flames off of the U.S.? Okay, and I try to get the colored picture, but it was like really, really small, and like if I enlarged it, it looked all fuzzy, so I went with this one instead, the black and white. So hopefully you can see what the flames say. Okay, so there's that. Okay, the second question asks you, what is one advantage and one disadvantage to that wall thing? Okay, so the first one, pretty easy, the advantage. You see it right there and then. So think of a disadvantage. Okay, think to yourself this: what's on the other side of that wall? As you can see, it's a globe. So what's on the other side besides U.S. and South America? What's on the other side? Okay, so hopefully that helps you out in thinking of some type of disadvantage. Okay, so go ahead, write your responses, but we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so after the War of 1812, remember, there's a sense of unity. Okay, now what I mean by unity is before, a lot of people would be proud of the state they were from. Washington, Jefferson. They'd be like, oh, well, we're Virginians. People like Alexander Hamilton, Aaron Burr, they're like, we're New Yorkers. So people were more proud of their state than they were of their country. Whereas now, after the War of 1812, there's a sense of unity in that we're Americans. People are starting to have that sense of like, hey, we're Americans, heck yeah. And then the shift, the point of view of the country moved from what's happening around the world to let's fix us, let's grow, let's work on us, let's pay attention to us and let the world be. Let us, get bigger and badder and things like that. So one of the first things that happened that actually really hurt the country was that the renewal charter for Alexander Hamilton's bank, it basically was not approved. They just let it die. Now the thing is, because that happened, now states started making chartered banks and private banks. People who had a lot of money were like, well, I can lend people money, I can start my own bank and things like that. And they used, instead of tangible money that the government has and been given out and been using, these banks been using banknotes instead of real money. So there are two examples right there. So if you look, the top one says National Bank of Pittsburgh. The bottom one says the National Bank of Selma. This is Selma, not Selma here in California. Selma, Massachusetts. So yeah, these states had their own dollars basically again. The problem is the National Bank did not just, it wasn't just a bank. It served multiple purposes. And one of the big ones was it regulated trade. It made sure that nobody was selling too much of this or too little of that, so where the prices were just, uneven. Instead of being even keeled like this, now they're starting to be like this. Either it's really expensive or it's like dirt cheap. It's getting pretty bad. And with that being said, the price of things started to rise. That's called inflation. When the price starts to rise, but the pay we get stays the same, that's called inflation. Now, for the Southerners, they were kind of a little upset because the thing is, a lot of slaves were escaping. And at this time, you have to remember, there's two places where a slave could run to and escape because technically it's another country. One of them was Mexico, right? This is now where the Texas border is, the far east border of Texas. That's the beginning of Mexico. The other place was Florida. Florida was owned by Spain. And the thing is, slaves could easily go to Florida if it was closer to them. And the thing is, a lot of these white men would try to chase them down, things like that. And the Seminole Indians would attack them because the Seminole Indians knew, okay, these white, they've attacked us and things like that. They kicked us out of our homes, of our territory. The black people escaping, it's like, okay, that's just a dude. Maybe he's lost. But they see the white people, they're like, oh, we know these guys. We've seen these guys before. And they would attack them. So the thing is, this started happening quite a bit to the point where the United States, well, actually the Southerners, were telling the U.S. government, you got to do something about this. You got to do something about this. So basically, the United States told Spain, hey, dude, you guys need to control your border. And Spain's like, well, we can't deal with that right now. We got other stuff going on. We'll get to it. Don't worry. So Secretary of War, which is right there, that guy, that's John C. Calhoun. He sends troops to Florida under the command of Andrew Jackson. Now, you're going to find out later that Jackson and Native Americans, they don't have a good history together. And Jackson actually becomes president later on. He does something that's truly vile. It's a stain in our country. And it's because of him. All right. So at the time, President John Andrews, the second president, puts pressure on Spain. Spain is like, oh God, we have so much crap going on. Now we got to deal with this stuff going on in Florida. The thing that's really hurting Spain is that they're losing territory in Latin America. Little countries are starting to gain their independence. Panama, Guatemala, Colombia, things like that. These areas, the people are fighting back. Now, the thing is, it got to the point where the United States kept pressuring them, that Spain was like, okay, fine, you know what? You can have Spain. You can have Florida. You can have Florida. Have it. We don't care. Just stop. So the United States is like, all right, we'll take it. Thanks. So they take all of Florida. And it became final with the Adam-Onis Treaty in 1819. Basically said that Florida is now our territory. So now these poor slaves who escaped over there, now it's like they can now be captured. It's like, dang it, we should have gone the other way. All right. So here's the thing. Why was Spain getting all frustrated and stuff like that? Because like I said, they're losing territory, and these new areas, these new colonies started getting their independence. Not only was Spain getting pressure from the U.S. about Florida, but they were getting pressure from other countries that, hey, you have to hold on to those countries. You have to maintain their power there. Because you have to remember, at this time in the world, the top three biggest, baddest countries in the world were England, France, Spain. Okay? Now, a country like, let's say, I don't know, just throwing it out there, Denmark, they'd be way down here at this list. So if a small little country got their independence from Spain, a top tier country, let's say Denmark's territory, let's say whatever territory they may have owned, do you think those people would be like, well, if those other people beat Spain and Spain's up here, we could take on these guys? And that's what happened. A lot of places were like, well, these people had no training, no fighting things, and they won their independence. Why can't we? Spain is third in the world and most powerful. Like, these other countries are way down low. Why can't we get our independence? So that's the ripple effect that happened when Spain started losing control. It made other countries go, well, we should fight back too. Not just against Spain, but the people who control us, whether it's France, Britain, uh, Portugal, they decide to fight back. Now, 1821, Russia basically announces to the world, hey guys, guess what? We expanded our territory. Yeah, we own all of Alaska, and we even got all the territory all the way down to Oregon. This made a lot of Americans kind of uneasy. Like, ooh, Russia's here? You know, Russia's on our territory? And again, President Monroe didn't like the idea that other countries are here on our land and that they were setting up camp in a sense. So he decides to do something. So here's my question to you. Why would the administration wouldn't want other across the ocean countries to be part of this world? Why would they want just the United States, to be on this side of the world and everyone else? France, Spain, Portugal, Russia. Why would they want them to not have any territory over here? So think about it strategically. Think about it military-wise. That might help you. Okay. Why would they want people to have territory out here? Okay. So think about it. Pause the video because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. So the response that Monroe gave was in December 1823, he declared the Monroe Doctrine, which basically said that the American continents, not only North America, but also South America, could no longer be viewed as open civilization. No more open colonization, no more coming in, claiming this territory. He's basically saying all these countries down here have gained their independence. They fought for it. They got it. So let them be. Keep away. And he also asked European countries to respect the sovereignty of the new Latin American countries. He's like, hey, these guys they fought, they won. Let them be. No one messed with you back when you were starting off. So let these guys be. If they succeed, they succeed. If they don't, so what? Okay. But here's the thing. Here's my question to you. Monroe's saying all this stuff about Latin America. Do you think he really cares about them? Or do you think he has like some type of hidden agenda? What do you think? Do you think he actually cares about these new countries in Southern America, Central, North America that are gaining their independence? Do you think he cares about them? Or do you think he's like hiding a trick up his sleeve? What do you think? So write your response. But we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we've come to your exit ticket. So you're going to pick one of these two questions. The first one is, what are some possible problems that might pop up with the national bank being gone? So now that it's gone completely, if you forgot its purpose and what they can do and things like that, you should really go back a couple videos and watch that video about its purpose and why it does, how it helps our country. Okay. The second one is, I want you to really stop and think and put yourself in these guys' shoes. It says, if you were a runaway slave, where would you go? Would you go north or go south? Would you go, we can't really go east because, again, there's nothing out there till the ocean. Or would you go west? Where would you go? When would you travel? During the day, during the night, and who would you trust? Now, again, put yourself in these guys' shoes, which was, you know, you don't have, don't think of like you're just now going back then, you know, like you have no shoes, things like that. You're just like the clothes are, you know, usually rags or torn up, things like that. What would you do? Where would you go? It's not like can carry a backpack, you know. And think about how the land was back then. Now we have cities and things like that. Whereas before it was like fields and swamps and wild animals out in the nighttime or even during the day, going around. So think like that. What would you do? How would you get out? Okay. So pick one of those. Once you're finished, you are done for this class. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new. Okay. So you guys, you take care, be safe, and I'll see you guys later, all right?